Good afternoon or good morning, wherever you might be. Thank you for joining us for CFP Board's Business Update webinar. This is Ray Ferrara, 2014 Chair of CFP Board's Board of Directors. Joining me today on the panel are Rich Rojeck, 2014 Chair-elect of the Board of Directors, and Kevin Keller, CFP Board's CEO. We are pleased that everyone is on the line and here to participate. Today we'll be sharing updates from the Board of Directors meeting last week. We'll cover CFP Board's overarching outcomes, awareness, growth, recognition and regulation, and authority, or AGRA for short. We'll explain the latest research measuring the progress of our public awareness campaign has enjoyed, and we'll take a look at CFP Board's work to grow the CFP professional community, as well as some updates related to the CFP certification requirements. Perhaps most importantly, we'll also be addressing your questions. We received a number of questions in advance of today's program, and we will take time to answer as many of those questions as we can, as well as the questions that come in during this live event. Before we get started, Kevin is going to take us through a few quick technical details.
Thank you, Ray. If you run into issues with the audio for this presentation, or if it seems like your slides are out of sync, try refreshing your webinar console, and to do that, you would press F5 on a PC, or if you're using a Mac, press Command R. You'll see a question and answer function on your screen that you can use at any time during the program to submit questions to us. We'll try to address as many questions as possible during the Q&A session at the end. If we don't get to your question today, we'll follow up after the event.
Thanks, Kevin. We have a lot of good information to share with you today, and we intend to leave plenty of time to answer your questions. First, I want to share an update from the most recent meeting of CFP Board's Board of Directors. We met last week at our regular July meeting. We reviewed the progress of a number of initiatives that are furthering our AGRA goals: awareness, growth, recognition and regulation, and authority. We looked at results from the latest research study measuring the impact of our public awareness campaign, which we'll share with you later today. And we also met with FPA's Board President, Janice Stanzak, and CEO Lauren Schradel. All of us at CFP Board appreciate FPA's work to support the CFP professionals and their partnership as part of the Financial Planning Coalition. Their annual conference is the largest gathering of CFP professionals, and the CFP Board is always pleased to participate in the conference. And if you didn't know, it will be in Seattle this September in the middle part of the month, and all you have to do is go to their website and learn more about it. We work closely with FPA on a number of issues, and our meeting last week was an important opportunity for the board to get the chance to engage with FPA's leadership. We will be inviting our other partner in the Financial Planning Coalition, NAPFA, to meet with us at our November meeting. I want to take a minute to recognize NAPFA for their recent decision to amend their membership criteria. The change brings their membership criteria in line with CFP Board's definition of fee only. CFP Board applauds NAPFA for making this change to its membership standards. NAPFA definitely is a leader in investor protection, and this change reflects their commitment to putting consumers first with a focus on transparency along with clear and understandable disclosure. We look forward to continuing to work with both NAPFA and FPA as our partners in the Financial Planning Coalition to advance the financial planning profession and ensuring Americans have access to competent and ethical CFP professionals. And we'll be meeting here in Washington, D.C. The first full week of September. Each of our organizations has a distinct mission and purpose within the financial planning profession. Now, CFP Board, NAPFA, and FPA all share the same definition of fee only, and CFP Board continues to listen to the discussion being held amongst the financial planning community. In 2012, CFP Board established 4 overarching outcomes to focus our work over the next several years. These 4 outcomes relate closely to CFP Board's core mission to benefit the public by granting the CFP certification and upholding it as the recognized standard for competent and ethical personal financial planning. Awareness among the public, within the financial services industry, and among policymakers and thought leaders. Growth in the number of CFP professionals. Recognition and regulation relates to our long-term goals to see financial planners recognized and regulated as a bona fide profession. Authority is another key way that CFP Board advances its mission to benefit the public. Under our authority goal, we seek to advance the body of knowledge for the financial planning profession. Our goal is that financial planning is seen as a separate, rigorous discipline supported by academic research for the benefit of the public, professionals, and educators. When we adopted AGRA, we resolved to monitor the goals annually and revise them as necessary and appropriate. Last week, the board had a good discussion about the relevance of AGRA, and I'm pleased to share that we reaffirm the importance of these goals and will continue to pursue them. Rich?
Great, thanks. Let me just share with you some insights into our awareness, which is the first day in AGRA. Awareness is one of our highest priorities given its importance for the future of the CFP certification and the financial planning profession. CFP Board launched its first major advertising campaign in April of 2011, so we are now in the middle of the campaign's 4th year. The public awareness campaign is our main initiative connected to our awareness outcome. The campaign includes paid advertising aimed at reaching our custom target audience of mass affluent initiators, which consist of those with investable net worth of $100,000 to $1 million, and then within the age range of 35 to 64. And then the initiator part of it evidences that they have certain behavioral attributes of collaboration and willingness to seek advice. So you see here on your screen some images from the new advertising that was put out this year on TV, in print, and also online. And we're going to have radio sponsorship messages on National Public Radio again in September and October of this year. All of the ads take the viewer, the public, to our consumer website, letsmakeaplan.org, which has been updated with messaging and fresh content that's tied in with the new ads. The successes we've seen from the public awareness campaign are the result of a coordinated effort that supplements our paid advertising with earned media. So we have a range of earned media, and earned media is simply where the CFP Board is mentioned or we are acknowledged as a resource in an article, or one of our ambassadors or our consumer advocate is interviewed or quoted. So that would be earned media. Those activities are getting CFP Board's messages out to the American public as well. Last year, we generated nearly 3 billion, with a B, 3 billion earned media impressions for the CFP certification. The integration of messages and goals between our earned media activities with our paid advertising has been an important factor in creating greater awareness. And I'm very pleased to share that the campaign continues to be highly successful. We shared before that our 2013 brand tracking study showed that the campaign had far exceeded our initial expectations. That was last year. We reached our 4-year goal for increased awareness in only 2 years. Our latest brand tracking, meaning the one that we did this year, 2014, shows even more outstanding improvement over the course of the past year. Unaided awareness among our top group of mass affluent initiators increased 6 percentage points over last year. So it went from 24 to 30%, which on an increase, that's a 25% increase over last year's results. So it went from 24 to 30%. That's the mass affluent initiators, and it increased to 28% for the broader mass affluent population. So that's a stunning increase, we think. These increases continue to exceed our expectations. And the research shows that the new advertising has really made a lasting impression. The latest brand tracking study confirms not only that people are seeing the ads, but they remember the ads. Our research looked at what percentage of our target recalls having seen the ads. For the campaign overall, we saw an 8 percentage point jump in those who recall seeing the ads. And for the TV ads specifically, we saw a dramatic 12 percentage point jump in recall. We knew from the amount of feedback we received that people had strong responses to the new ad, with responses that are positive or favorable reactions vastly outnumbering those that were negative, and this research confirms that. The brand tracking study also took a look at whether our target associates, our target meaning the mass affluent initiator, associates positive factors with CFP professionals. Here we found additional significant increases in the positive associations people connect to the CFP certification brand. Between 2013 and 2014, we saw large increases in the number of people who associate things like relevance, uniqueness, quality, trust, and consideration with the CFP certification brand. The campaign's goal is to increase awareness of CFP professionals, but the increases in these positive associations is a great precursor to seeing increased preference for and intent to work with CFP professionals. That is good news for all of us in the CFP professional community. And I hope it is encouragement for all of you listening to consider how you can help us extend the reach of the campaign. The Public Awareness Campaign Toolkit on our website, so that's cfp.net, has materials you can use to extend the campaign's reach in your own community. You'll find customizable versions of the print ads and instructions for using campaign elements on your own websites. And you can expect to hear about new resources added to this toolkit in the coming months. So you just simply go to cfp.net, and then you go to where it says for CFP professionals, click on that, and then click on Public Awareness Campaign Toolkit, and it takes you to those resources I mentioned. Let me turn it over to Kevin for more update. Kevin?
Great. Thank you very much, Rich. The easy URL is cfp.net/toolkit to get to the Public Awareness Campaign Toolkit. I know all of us at CFP Board are excited about the growing awareness of CFP certification. Just as we have a lot going on with awareness, we have a lot going on in regard to growing the number of CFP professionals as well. These two outcomes are very much connected. As more consumers become aware of CFP professionals and seek their services, we want to ensure that we have enough CFP professionals to meet the demand. The number of CFP professionals certified by the U.S. by CFP Board is now over 70,000, but the total number of CFP professionals is only a fraction of the total number of practicing advisors. We've talked in earlier webinars about a number of approaches CFP Board is taking to increase growth. In 2014, some of those approaches include direct marketing to people who have indicated an interest in CFP certification, working with our education program providers to encourage student enrollment and retention, as well as continuing the pursuit of CFP certification by their graduates. We're working to build a bridge from the educational programs, now more than 125 baccalaureate programs in addition to the graduate programs and the certificate program, but we're working to build that bridge to practice so that people can earn the certification, can earn the experience they need to become certified. We're also working with large firms to encourage them to support CFP professionals within their organizations, and particularly working to have CFP baked in, if you will, to their new advisor training programs. With regard to our firms, we're actively working on opportunities to bring them together with our academic programs. In February, we partnered with Fidelity to hold a Dean's Day event that brought faculty and deans from 15 of our CFP Board registered programs together with leaders from Fidelity and CFP Board. Discussions focused on the ways Fidelity, CFP Board registered programs, and CFP Board can work together to assist with hiring new talent, supporting registered programs, and encouraging students to complete their financial planning education and actually pursue CFP certification. That, we feel, is a win-win situation for firms, for registered programs, for students, and for the profession at large. And we're looking forward to expanding this type of meeting next month at our CFP Board Registered Program Conference, where we'll have representatives from over 100 colleges and universities together. This year's conference with our registered programs will include a first-of-its-kind Firms Night that allows registered programs to meet with representatives from firms interested in potential partnership options. We've confirmed that we have over 20 firms participating in this event. We hope that the meetings during Firms Night will be a first step in developing collaborative efforts that will both fulfill the needs of academia and practice, as well as encourage graduates to complete their CFP certification. CFP Board is exploring the creation of a center that would serve as a credible source of research that advances the financial planning profession in several core areas, including supporting academic research and helping financial planners better serve the public. You know, at the board meeting, we talked about what the Center for Financial Planning might look like, and we really envision a number of different outcomes, but if I could maybe share with you some of those outcomes. We envision the Center for Financial Planning providing the opportunities for the public at large to have access to competent planners who have regular access to research that informs and fuels and enriches practice. We envision a center where we are providing the opportunity for a broad pool of thought leaders to come together both within academia and in practice, and where CFP Board is helping to set the research agenda for the financial planning practice. We envision, if you will, a body of leading-edge, theoretically based and yet actionable research so that we can have a direct impact on the practice of financial planning. We envision a scholarly peer-reviewed journal that is the most prestigious place for academia to showcase their research, and we envision an academic home for the faculty of financial planning. We see the center being able to play a role in creating a true career path in financial planning, and again, helping to build that bridge from academic institutions to professional service. We see a future where women and other underrepresented sectors increasingly see certification with CFP certification as a worthwhile and attainable goal. And again, all of this is in the works. We're in the planning stage, and we talked a great deal about it at the most recent Board of Directors meeting. One of the core areas that we've identified for the center's work is supporting diversity within the profession. That is an area that we've also worked to address through our Women's Initiative. In 2013, we assembled a Blue Ribbon Women's Initiative Advisory Panel made up of leading experts in financial planning to explore the challenges that women face when becoming certified and beginning a career in financial planning. And we asked them to help identify solutions to increase the ranks of CFP female professionals. That number has been at about 23% for the last 10 years. The panel completed substantial research. In April, we released a white paper in New York that included the findings and recommendations as well as an action plan. The white paper presents key findings from our research and identifies issues that have contributed to perhaps underrepresentation of women in the profession. Quite simply, many women have no awareness of what the financial planning profession involves, or they hold misconceptions about what it entails. The white paper sets out a number of recommendations for addressing these factors, and CFP Board has committed to following up on a number of those. The white paper lists a number of approaches that we'll be taking in order to help make the financial planning profession more welcoming for women and to grow the number of CFP women professionals. The board at its meeting created a WIN Council to provide ongoing advice for our efforts. We will develop a Faces of Women CFP Professionals Awareness campaign. We'll be designing designating WIN advocates who will be tasked with reaching out through local institutions and associations to help increase awareness of financial planning and CFP certification among women and girls. We are looking forward to partnering with a number of selected firms on pilot projects to promote gender diversity and professional development. The white paper also includes a list of things that you can do to help with this initiative. These range from volunteering with the WIN initiatives to speaking at schools about financial planning. I hope all of you listening today will take a look at the white paper, if you haven't already, and consider how you can contribute to this important initiative. If you are interested in participating in the WIN initiative, please visit our website and complete a short form indicating your interest. We invite you to participate in our online discussion forum based on the WIN initiative. You can find more information at cfpboard.net/WIN, W-I-N. As other professions have matured, they have experienced more gender equity in their ranks, and that is something that we want to see happen for the profession of financial planning. Rich and Ray, I should point out, this is just the first step in creating greater diversity within the profession.
Kevin, thank you very much. And I'm eager to get to everyone's questions. We've tried to reserve half of our time to answer questions, but I do want to take a couple of quick minutes to cover some items related to the CFP certification requirements. Realizing how business is evolving, CFP Board reviews our certification requirements on a regular basis. This year, for example, the Board is taking a look at the experience requirement, and experience which may be relevant today, but perhaps is relevant today, but is no longer from the past. The exam requirement is one that the organization has spent a significant amount of time and effort reviewing in recent years. For those of you who may not know, the next CFP exam is being administered tomorrow and Saturday. All of us at CFP Board wish the best to everyone taking the exam this week. The July exam will be our final paper and pencil-based CFP exam. Beginning in November, the CFP exam will be administered in a computer-based format. When we are traveling around the country, and especially at certificate connections, Rich, Kevin, and I were just on the West Coast in May and got a chance to speak face-to-face with some 350 to 375 CFP professionals, and they expressed their concern that the computer-based exam will be less rigorous due to its shorter length. I'd like to assure everyone that CFP Board and its Board of Directors are aware of these concerns, and that simply is not the case. At least according to the highly qualified psychometricians who professionally put together exams, that they are ensuring us that the computer-based exam format is not easier or more difficult than the pencil and paper format that has been in place since 1990. The computer-based exam covers some content outlined in CFP Board's current job task domains and principal topics, and we have been assured it will continue to serve as a reliable measure of the knowledge and skill required to practice financial planning. And when we were in Miami back in February, Kevin, you might recall there was one individual who just couldn't believe we were possibly going to make the change from the 10 hours to the 6 hours, And then you asked him when did he get his certification, and it was in the mid to late 80s, so he never took the exam. Incensed nonetheless.
Well, and one of the things, Ray, is that the item bank, or we call them items, they're actually the test question. It's the same item bank. There'll still be 2 case studies. But I understand the concern, but I think the convenience and the more uniform test-taking environment that exists will be a real positive going forward.
Registration is now open for the November CFP exam, and we ask all of you to encourage your qualified colleagues to register and continue their pursuit of the CFP certification. Easy for you to say. I'm also pleased to share that CFP Board now offers a set of practice exams to help candidates prepare for the CFP exam. The practice exams are made up of authentic CFP exam questions that we've retired, and they are delivered online with results and feedback available immediately. And in a conversation yesterday, Kevin and I were talking and was told that the questions that are there being retired exam questions are just as rigorous questions as those that are on the exam themselves. They can be purchased individually, the 2 practice exams, or as a bundle for the best value. We hope everyone preparing for the exam will take advantage of this new study tool. Finally, I want to share that we are working on the latest job analysis study. This is an important research project that helps establish what CFP professionals need to know. It results in the list of topics and job domains that make up the education requirements for CFP certification, and it determines what areas are covered in the CFP exam. In coming weeks, we will be asking all CFP professionals to complete an important survey related to this study. Please keep an eye out for the survey invitation and set aside some time to complete this important study. Doing so will help keep the CFP certification as the highest standard for personal financial planning and maintain its significant relevance. Okay, let's get started with the questions.
You know, before we start with the questions, Ray, thinking back to the job analysis, it really is the world's largest research project designed to define that body of knowledge. And when we think about the role that the Center for Financial Planning can play, it is contemplated that it would help expand and extend that body of knowledge deeper and with more academic and theoretically based research to support it. So with the first set of questions, I have them here, Ray.
And yeah, I was going to say, I just wanted to remind everybody who's listening in, if you do have a question that you'd like to submit to us, please do so. We probably have about 25 questions that were submitted to us ahead of time. But if you've got one, we'll try to get them. And just to remind everybody, if we don't get to your question today, we promise to get back to you after the webinar with an answer.
Daniel asks about the public awareness campaign. I'd like to get a better sense of the goals for the public awareness campaign and to hear more about where the campaign will go next. Rich, would you take that one?
Sure. Well, as I mentioned, the primary objective for the campaign is increased public awareness of CFP professionals. So we're focusing, as I mentioned, on a specific target, which is that mass affluent initiator group. But there is also, if you will, a spillover effect because other people are, viewing the ads or reading them or seeing them online. So it reaches the mass affluent market and certainly beyond that, we believe. This year, we continued the campaign with an integrated mix of earned media activities and paid. So the paid is the paid advertising, and the earned was, as I indicated, where we contribute thought to the community, whether it's our ambassadors or through published information, research, and so forth. And so that gets quoted in the media and basically increases the impression of the CFP professional in the market. And so we blend all of these activities together. Our team is currently working on a media plan for 2015, and we will share updates when that plan is finalized. And in the coming months, you can also expect to see additions to the public awareness campaign toolkit that CFP professionals themselves can use to help extend the campaign's reach in their own communities.
Thank you, Rich. Ray, why don't you take this next one? What objective advice is there that the public awareness campaign is helping individual CFP professionals? I'm aware of no instance where people with whom I come in contact with are familiar with, nor do I see it myself. That's Russell, a CFP professional, writing in.
Russell, sorry that you haven't had a chance to see it. The recall numbers that Rich shared with us earlier today are good evidence that the ads are being seen and remembered. And much of those 3 billion media impressions that he talked about earlier are a direct result of the ad. We hope that many people seek out financial planning help from CFP professionals as a direct result of the campaign, but it is not the campaign's primary goal. Our goal is to increase the public awareness of CFP professionals, and that should provide value for the entire CFP professional community. If you're not doing so already, we encourage you to ask potential new clients what factors led them to you. You might be surprised by the answers. We also encourage you to mention your CFP certification in your business materials and in your discussions. You may find that more people connect with your CFP certification and the messages of the campaign if you provide them with the opportunity to make that connection. And again, I can't compliment the toolkit enough and encourage you to go to get it if you haven't had a chance to look at it yet. Kevin, maybe you'd be kind enough to take this next one. It comes from Andrew Bluestone. He says, how do you see designated CFP professionals leveraging the value of being a certified financial planner, advisor, specifically when addressing marketing through social media?
Thanks, Ray. Andrew, social media is reaching a lot of people across every demographic, and we encourage CFP professionals to consider using it. CFP Board released a social media guide for CFP professionals recently, and we encourage you to take a closer look at our tips for getting started. In addition to those tips, the guide contains sample messages you can post on social media. If you look in our public awareness campaign toolkit, you'll also find sample social media posts featuring key messages from the campaign. Of course, work with your compliance department. We don't want to encourage you to do something counter, but the social media guide was created in cooperation and in consultation with compliance experts. Ray, the next question comes from Paul. Will topics and domains remain as current for the upcoming computer-based test in November?
Paul, absolutely. The November CFP exam will continue to cover the current principal topics and job task domains. The next job analysis study, which is currently underway, will likely lead to changes in the topics and domains. That's what it's really all about, and we do it every 5 years, if I remember.
We do it every 5 years, but Ray, at the staff level, we're looking at how can we do a more dynamic job analysis study so that it's not one big study every 5 years, but we're looking at ways that we can stay more relevant and keep the content up to date more regularly.
Great, Paul, and let me assure you that before we make any changes, well in advance of those changes, we will be sure to let everybody know what they are.
Great. Next question, Rich, if you would take this one. Paul Schulte writes in, will you be doing any more ad campaigns, i.e. additional TV commercials?
The answer is yes. And the board authorized the continuation of our public awareness campaign last year, having validated its effectiveness. And so,
All right,
we released our new advertising message and ad this year in the spring, so it's still quite fresh. The team's work on the 2015 media plan will include decisions on whether to develop a new ad. We will probably review it, but certainly it's been effective, so it's likely it could be continued, but other elements of it could be renewed and refreshed. Given the increased awareness of CFP professionals we've seen as a result of the type of advertising we've done so far, it is likely that we'll just see more advertising as we have on TV, radio, online, and print again next year.
Great. Thank you very much, Rich. Next question for Ray. Jonathan writes in, how do you feel the changes in requirements and testing have affected the CFP designation and its honor?
Well, Jonathan, in recent years, we, the Board of Directors and CFP Board, believe we've strengthened the CFP certification. Let's take just a moment to look at the last 6 or 7 years. 2007, we adopted a fiduciary standard that puts the client's interest first when practicing financial planning or material elements of financial planning. And once you start into the financial planning process at that fiduciary standard of care, there's no hat switching. You are always working with the client at a fiduciary standard of care. The education requirement now includes a capstone course that requires students to actually prepare a financial plan. As I've said a couple of times, what a concept. Financial planners should prepare a plan first in their testing process. The exam's new computer-based format brings the exam's delivery method up to date without affecting its validity or rigor. We're implementing initiatives to improve the quality of continuing education that we announced last year, and so that you'll never go to, hopefully, in another couple of years, one of those CE classes and say that was a waste of time. And we're making great strides in increasing public awareness of CFP professionals. The CFP certification is strong and deserves the respect it has earned.
Great. Thank you, Ray. Rich, next question for you. Stephen writes in, are most CFP professionals for or against the new shorter CFP exam?
Well, we haven't polled on this issue, but I would say when we do our certificate connections, to which I think you and Ray have referred earlier in our broadcast, this is where we actually go out and we visit with CFP professionals in their cities. The question has come up, but I think the vast majority of CFP professionals support what we're doing. I think those that are concerned about the new format may be misinformed or not seeing the big picture. The new exam format was developed, as Ray has mentioned, perhaps you as well, Kevin, with the assistance of highly qualified testing experts to make sure that it is equally as rigorous as the past, although not as long. And it will continue as a result to be a reliable measure of the knowledge and skill required to practice financial planning. And there's some significant advantages of it. Traditionally, we've only had 3 test dates. So now we have 15, so there's 5 alternatives for each cycle. So it's more convenient to schedule your exam. The testing environments are going to be significantly better for test taking, and the proximity to where our prospective CFP professionals work or live is going to be much greater, so they won't have to travel as far to get to a test center. There will be an opportunity to receive your results immediately. They're not official. They'll be confirmed within a couple of weeks, but you immediately get your results rather than having to wait several weeks, as is the case with the paper exam. And then for the benefit of the CFP board, and I think everyone, we think we're going to have better exam security in an electronic environment. So that would be my response to Stephen. Kevin.
Thank you, Rich. Tim Cochis is online and writes in as an observation, having worked on the original CFP exam from 1985 to 1990. Tim, you're dating yourself a bit. I am delighted to confirm that the science of exam construction has always supported that a thoroughly reliable exam is a function of its design, not its length. And so that, again, the science of testing is a component of that. And as I said earlier, we're using the same item bank, the same questions as we've used in the past.
Kevin, Glenn writes to us and wants to know why collect a fee to access the newly released exam questions. Seems excessive. Is this really necessary?
Well, Glenn, thank you for asking that question. When we decided to make available the practice exams, we wanted to make sure that they were a robust and effective learning tool, and the system we've set up is exactly that. The revenue we receive from practice exams will help cover the cost of their development and the ongoing development of new exam questions. We believe they're well worth the investment. I would mention, and it's usually surprising, most people think if you've never volunteered to write exam questions, we can always use volunteers. But the cost to bring volunteers in, write the actual item, test it out, the direct costs alone are in excess of $500 per item that appears on the actual test. That's not overhead, that's just the direct costs alone. And so when we talk about exam security, that's why it's so important. The value of those questions is so important.
Thanks. Let's switch from talking about the exam, if we can, for a minute, and let's go to our continuing education. Diana writes and says, when will the CFP Board go to self-regulation on the CE like most state societies do for the CPA? She says, as a CPA, I maintain a file of credit. Then the BOA does audits, and I'm not sure who the BOA is on
Board of Accountancy, probably.
Okay, on its members.
Yeah. Diana, thank you for asking the question. We have no plans to trade our system of registering and accepting CE for an audit-based process. The registration process allows us to ensure that programs address our accepted topics, and having a list of registered CE programs allows CFP professionals to find programs they know will count toward their renewal requirements with CFP Board.
Kevin, we've got apparently quite a few CPAs who are also CFP professionals, because George, the way this question is written, I think is a CPA. And he says, why does the CFP Board give half credits for continuing professional education and the CPA gives full credit?
Well, George, that is likely a result of the topics covered by the specific course. We grant 1 hour of CE for every 50 minutes of live CE programs that are focused on our accepted topics. For self-study programs, we grant 1 hour of CE for every class hour focused on accepted topics, provided that the program includes an exam with at least 10 questions per hour. Ray, a question for you. Why don't the issue of the compensation continues to be a topic of interest among CFP professionals. Frank writes in and asks, have CFP Board put the fee-only controversy behind us?
Frank, I don't know whether we've put it behind us or not, but as we have said all of this year and a good bit of last year, the CFP Board is listening to the conversation, as are our partners in the Financial Planning Coalition, the FPA, and NAPA. And NAPA's recent decision to bring their membership criteria in line with CFP Board's definition of fee-only is an important first step to that unification. It doesn't mean it's the last step, but it's a very important step. And as I said earlier, we salute NAPA for taking that step. I hope it also helps reinforce where the profession's focus should be. it shouldn't be on compensation methods. CFP Board believes that no matter how you are paid, that you can act at a fiduciary standard of care, and that you can do so, best recognized by the CFP mark, in a competent and ethical way. I do want to note that on July 1st, CFP Board started a random review of compensation disclosure for those that CFP professionals that are participating in our Find a CFP Professional. The people who wish to search on compensation do have the ability to do so. This is going to be a risk-based, randomized look at the website where we will try to identify those folks who may have not presented their information in an accurate fashion. If you do have any questions, anyone has any questions, whether you're on the website or not, about compensation disclosure rules and definitions, you can contact our professional standards team for guidance by sending an email to standards@cfpboard.org. And I'd also add one other note, and Rich, Kevin, and I spoke about this at great length while we were on the West Coast. I think sometimes the profession is concerned about the wrong F word. We really shouldn't be talking about fees. We need to be talking about fiduciary. And if you're delivering financial planning at a fiduciary standard of care with all of the proper disclosures, then compensation is no longer an issue.
Ray, we have another question from Joe, again on compensation. Joe asks, what is the future status of fee-only for organizations that may be linked loosely to a brokerage or non-fiduciary firm? He says it seems almost that any large company trying to adhere to a fee-only approach will never be allowed to comply with such stringent guidelines, and asks, does this seem fair?
Joe, CFP Board is not concerned about how many people call themselves fee-only, how many people call themselves fee-based, how many people call themselves commission and fee or commission only. We do believe that our definitions, including fee-only, provide a clear, common sense, and plain English explanation to the clients on compensation methods. And again, I've been quoted as asking the question, what part of only do I not understand? And if you need to add an explanatory note next to the word only, is that fair to clients? Do we have to put a little asterisk next to only to explain what only really means?
Ray, a couple of folks have written in, Keith and Kevin, asking questions about diversity beyond the Women's Initiative. Specifically, Kevin asked, what initiatives or programs exist to encourage certification among African Americans and other groups?
Well, I think that, as Kevin, as you mentioned at the beginning, last year there was a lot of passion developed around the Women's Initiative. We learned a significant amount as a result of that initiative in understanding just how challenging the diversity issues are within our profession. We will be able to take a lot of that knowledge and go forward with it, not only in the African American community, but in other diverse communities around the United States. And I can assure you, as our board met last week, the discussion to CFP Board staff, to Kevin, and to all of the executive leadership team is, okay, now what's next? Where are we going next? But please appreciate that we had to start somewhere, and we are committed to creating a population of CFP professionals that are representative of our society at large.
And we want to thank both TD and Ameriprise for stepping up and providing the corporate funding that underwrote the research that supported the Women's Initiative white paper, As we begin looking at the diversity issue, we'll be looking for other corporate funders. So if there are folks out there for whom this is an important issue, we'll be looking for support to help broaden and extend the population of CFP professionals.
So, Kevin, it looks like the trend at the moment is on the fiduciary issue. Terry has asked, what updates are there on the fiduciary issue itself?
Well, CFP Board and the Financial Planning Coalition continue to advocate for the extension of a fiduciary standard to broker-dealers. Again, only those broker-dealers who are providing personalized investment advice to retail clients. It appears that the SEC has been moving toward a fiduciary rulemaking as they are authorized to do so under Dodd-Frank, but it does not look like they're in any hurry to get there.
I hearken back to the decision in the mid-'50s from the Supreme Court when they said, with all due speed, in Brown versus the Board of Education. I kind of feel like this is a replay in some ways to that. Well, let's stay on that. Richard, or Dick, as he is known, why is CFP Board having trouble getting behind an unconditional fiduciary standard?
Rich, why don't you take that one?
Oh, thank you. Well, yes, if this is the Richard Wagner that we know, Dick, well, I'm not quite certain that I understand your question when you say unconditional fiduciary standard. But I do know that CFP Board is strongly supportive of applying a uniform fiduciary standard to those who provide personalized investment advice to retail clients. That's, after all, the provision, I think it's provision 913 under Dodd-Frank. We have been a very strong advocate of that those that provide personalized investment advice to retail clients should act as a fiduciary. As far as CFP Board is concerned, in terms of our own standards, we took a leadership role on this issue, on the fiduciary issue, way back in 2007 when we adopted a fiduciary standard. Just happened to have my handy standards of professional conduct right here, and it says a certificant shall at all times place the interest of the client ahead of his or her own. When the certificant provides financial planning or material elements of financial planning, the certificant owes to the client the duty of care of a fiduciary as defined by the CFP Board. And as Ray has already mentioned, there's no hat switching. Once you assume that responsibility or that status with the client, you remain so under our standards. You remain a fiduciary. I think it's fair to say that the CFP Board's fiduciary standard reflects the best thinking of the profession at the time it was written, and it continues to provide important protections for consumers who seek financial planning from CFP professionals. So hopefully that helps or responds to your question, Dick.
Kevin, our comments about the job analysis spurred this question from Kathy. How do you determine what tasks are included on the job analysis survey?
Kathy, that's a great question because we always start with what are the current list of topics. But what we do to make sure that we don't miss new or emerging topics is that we bring together what we call several different groups of big thinkers. These are well-respected people in the profession, and we engage them in conversation about new topics that might be of interest. So, we started to see 5 years ago, and obviously that group, as we brought them together, retirement income is a much more important topic today than it was 10 years ago. We frequently test out the concept of life planning. Sometimes, it's kind of on the bubble whether or not it's accepted, but we look at, again, behavioral finance issues around. That's how we got to the point where the last job analysis really identified the importance of communication, and it just hadn't been tested out in the past. And when we brought the group together, it was clear that this group thought that, and is obviously the case, communication is so important, and the result was it went on the actual survey instrument itself and bubbled up as an important topic and is now an important part of the test.
And Kevin, having just sat with Rich and several other members of the board of directors in our nominating committee, we had a lot of young CFP professionals that had expressed an interest. Deborah wants to know, what advice would you give for younger professionals interested in taking a more active role in CFP board activities, but perhaps do not have enough experience to serve as a board member?
Well, Deborah, first of all, we welcome your interest in getting more involved. We have many functions that rely on the support of volunteers. In fact, in 2013, we had over 200 volunteers. These include things like exam development, consumer outreach, support for our women's initiative, and serving on hearing panels with our disciplinary and ethics commission. If you have any interest in volunteering with us, please take a few minutes to review the opportunities and complete a volunteer application. You can do that on our website at cfpboard.net/volunteer. And we will then at the staff level follow up with you when opportunities related to your interest become available. This next question is for Rich. Aaron writes in, good afternoon. Can you comment at this time on the status of CFP Board's search for director candidates for the board directors, so the nominations process, Rich?
Yes, well, thank you for the question. We called for nominations beginning in April, if my memory serves me, March or April, for what will be the 2015 board year. And we actually sent 3 or 4 calls out to CFP certificates and other professionals and other thought leaders asking for nominations. You can self-nominate. The nominations closed in June, I think it was June 20th, and we're delighted to report that we received, I think it was 78 affidavits and individuals indicating interest in serving on the CFP board beginning the year 2015, and the terms are for 4 years. So we carefully review each affidavit, and we're looking for the type of experience that would suggest that individuals can bring great insight as well as leadership to the board. And we are looking for diversity, certainly, not only as to gender, but as to professional experience, leadership experience, other board experience. And I'm delighted to report that we have a semi-finalist list, of which we have 3 very well qualified, very talented female CFP professionals. We are looking for 4 individuals to fill the expiring terms of our current board members. So that's the status as it currently stands. So I think we're looking in very good shape for our 2015 matriculating class, if you will, Kevin.
Thanks, Rich. Kevin, living up to the CFP board mantra, this will be our last question, so be brief, be bright, be gone. But as it relates to our growth goal, Ed wants to know, is there a target percentage to achieve of CFPs versus the total number of advisors?
Thank you very much, Ed. There is indeed, and the board has, as part of its growth initiative under AGRA, given the staff a 5-year goal of getting to 25%. We're at about 18% now, and the goal is to get to 25%. Clearly, not all advisors will qualify for CFP certification, and others may not have an interest, but the goal is 25%.
Well, I'd like to thank everybody for all of your questions, and obviously we did not get to all of them. And as promised, we will shoot the answers to you. So we're just about out of time. Rich, any parting thoughts that you'd like to share?
Well, thanks, Ray. I'd like to thank everyone for their support of CFP certification and the profession. All of us at CFP Board appreciate the support that so many provide to the important initiatives that we have underway. It's important to all of us on the board that the CFP Board stakeholders stay engaged with the work that we're doing and get involved with CFP Board's initiatives. And if you want to learn more about how to do that, again, please visit us at cfp.net. I want to encourage everyone to stay connected with the important work going on at the CFP Board.
Indeed, Rich. Please do stay connected, and please let us know when we can contribute to, when you think that you can contribute to one of our initiatives or have new ideas you believe are in line with our mission. CFP Board's mission is one we cannot achieve without collaboration and cooperation, and all of us are grateful for the time and energy that so many of you in the CFP professional community have contributed to helping us achieve that mission.
Well, thank you, Rich and Kevin, and thank you to everyone who is joining us on today's webinar. I believe we should be thankful to be part of a growing, dynamic profession. CFP Board is advancing the financial planning profession with the ultimate goal of benefiting the public. When I became a CFP professional in 1990, the public had very little idea of what financial planning was, much less what the letters CFP meant after someone's name. We've come a long way, and that is a direct result of tens of thousands of CFP professionals who embody and reflect the competency and ethical standards in their daily work with their clients, and our dedicated volunteer leadership and staff. I appreciate everyone's engagement with CFP Board and your support for our shared goals. That will conclude our webinar for today. And the recording of this presentation will be posted to CFP Board's website within the next week, and CFP Board will follow up with those who ask questions, as I mentioned earlier, that we did not have time to address during this broadcast. Thank you for joining us, and have a wonderful rest of the week.